Welcome to this tutorial on developing an augmented reality treasure hunt game using Java. In this exciting project, we'll leverage augmented reality to create an immersive treasure hunting experience. Throughout this video, we'll be covering everything from prerequisites, setting up your development environment, to building the actual game and deploying it on your device. Before we dive in, let's go over the prerequisites. You'll need to have the following installed: Java Development Kit, JDK, Android Studio, and an AR framework like ARCore or Vuforia. Make sure your software is up to date. Let's start by setting up our project in Android Studio. First, open Android Studio and click on Start a new Android Studio project. Choose the Empty Activity template. Configure your project settings. Give your application a name, for example, AR Treasure Hunt. Choose Java as the language and set the minimum API level to 24, Android 7.0. Click Finish and wait for Android Studio to set up your project. Now that we have our project set up, let's integrate ARCore. Open the build.gradle file, module, app, and add the ARCore dependency. Sync your project with Gradle files by clicking on Sync Now. This will download the necessary ARCore libraries that we need for our project. Next, we need to configure permissions in the Android manifest. Open androidmanifest.xml and add the necessary permissions for camera access and AR features. Now, let's create our main activity. Navigate to mainActivity.java and replace its content with the following code. We will initialize AR and set up the AR scene. Next, we need to set up the AR surface view. This will allow us to display the AR content. In your activity.xml layout file, we will add an AR fragment. Back to mainActivity.java, we will set up the AR fragment to handle AR session updates. We are now able to detect planes in our AR scene. To create a treasure hunt, we will need to display some treasures on the detected planes. Let's mimic treasure items with 3D models. You can use any available 3D model or create your own in a tool like Blender. For our example, let's download a 3D model of a treasure chest in OBJ format and convert it. After converting the OBJ file, add it to the /assets directory of your project. Remember to create a models folder inside assets if it doesn't exist. To load the 3D model in our Android application, we need to use SceneForm. Let's add SceneForm dependencies to your build.gradle file. Don't forget to sync your project again to get the latest dependencies. Now we need to write a method to place a treasure on the detected plane when the user taps on the screen. Next, we need to handle user taps on the screen. We'll override the touch event in our AR fragment. As our game progresses, we want to create a mechanism for tracking found treasures. We'll use a list to keep track of treasures that have been placed and a simple scoring system. Let's create a score variable and a method to increase the score. Let's call increaseScore whenever the user places a treasure. Modify the addModel-to-Scene method to include this. Now, let's enhance our game by adding a UI where players can see their score. We will use a simple text view element to display the score. In our main activity, we will bind the text view and update it whenever the score changes. We now have a functional scoring system. Next, let's add some game logic to detect when a treasure has been found. We'll create a simple detection system based on the player's proximity to the treasure. We'll set up a game loop that checks for nearby treasures at regular intervals. In our main activity, we can use a handler to create a simple loop. In the check for treasure method, we'll iterate over all placed treasure nodes and check if any have been found using the player's position. Finally, let's make our game more visually appealing. You can customize the AR environment by adding sounds or effects when a treasure is collected. You might also want to place different types of treasures at different locations. To add sound effects, make sure to add a sound file in the /res/raw folder, and you can use Media Player in your increaseScore method. With all this functionality, you've developed a fully working AR treasure hunt game. Now it's time to test it on your device. Connect your Android device to your computer and run the app from Android Studio. Make sure ARCore is supported on your device. Once the application is running, walk around to find your treasures. Remember to check your score as the game progresses. Thank you for following along in this tutorial. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave any questions or suggestions in the comments below. We hope you had fun creating your own AR treasure hunt game, and we look forward to seeing your creations.